How's it going, everybody? Tonight we're going to have Roger talk about, what are you going to talk about?
Safety.
Safety, that's
Safety.
right, Safety Down Day and
Resource, or,
something else.
yeah.
Anyway, let's stand and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Cappy, would you?
Sure. Bow our heads. Father, again, we thank you for allowing us to come before this meeting so we can learn more about our mission. Be with those who are flying this evening. Be with our members and our aviators, Father, who are flying in weather that may not be conducive to good flight. We just ask that you watch over them, provide them with safety. Be with our families and be with our government. In your name we pray. Amen.
Christopher Younger is back in the comm room, and he's doing the net control tonight. So he'll be about 5 or 7 minutes, and then he can join us as well. So anyway, and I'd like to thank whoever's helped out cleaning up the squadron. It looks great now. Somebody's vacuumed. Chris Younger, he came for the whole day Sunday about a week ago. I don't know if Terry acknowledged him last week, but did a great job. Everything looks good, smells good. So thanks everybody. So you can always empty the trash cans. You can always do a window if you want to. We got cleaning supplies back in the black cabinets now. So if you get tired of seeing something dirty or not right, go ahead and clean it. It's your squadron as well. So don't forget that. I've been not feeling well. I don't know, the doctor and I are talking about doing some tests on my heart again, which is not settling well for me, so I don't want to go through that stuff again. So, but anyway, that's coming up. Roger, how you doing? Are you about ready?
Yeah, I can start the.
Okay, so you can start anytime. Roger's going to be doing the safety meeting tonight, and anybody have any questions, we'll do that after he's done. So, thank you, Roger.
That should, now I don't have,
I didn't make it last week.
the thing I got is from Ken Benner.
What's that?
It's from you and Mike, I mean, from Ken Benner, so I'm not sure.
Does it say suspense calendar?
No, it says calendar group 3 calendar, that's
Yeah,
all.
that's it, group 3 calendar, suspense
Okay.
calendar.
But I don't know where the calendar is.
It's at the very bottom of the email, should be.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that run right there, okay.
Yeah.
All right, now, I need to have that be,
You remember how to do that, right? Take control?
yeah, I, on my end at least, yeah. Okay, there it goes.
Oh, there you go. Great. Good job.
Yes, of course it is. Okay. All right. How many here don't know who I am? I'm Roger. The guy said, yeah. All right, I'm Roger, the safety meeting, I'm a safety guy. And I know every year we have to go through this. This stuff for you old timers, this probably gets kind of tiresome and old. If you've been in the Air Force, it's gonna be more tiresome and old. But I say that because it is extremely important and to know what the annual or what the risk management is as far as events that take place. I know that, including myself, we forget, we get out there, we start doing something for CAP and for us, even our own selves, we kind of forget about the risk management side of it. It's extremely important, so CAP wants us to go through that. It's stuff that if you've been through this before, you know, if you're in the Civil Air Patrol for any length of time, you've seen all this before. But it's a good reminder, and I'll try to not make it, I'll try to make it exciting, okay? I'm not going to sit here and try to reread what the PowerPoint says. But anyhow, all right, we are going to talk about tonight conducting a risk assessment, and then what are some of the common mishaps. And then they do have a thing at the end where they would like you to go through a scenario. It's as a matter of fact, the scenario is cadet O-rides and all the ramifications involved with that. It's too bad that Terry's not here, because really he would be good at doing that end of it. But we really, the big thing is that everybody gets what it is that we're talking about here. If you have a good picture in your head as to what risk management is, then the rest of it is pretty easy and straightforward. What we go through on this refresher is what this is that we kind of cover those little things that are the details that we might forget when we do a risk management. What we're going to go into is conducting a risk management, and like it says up there, this is a review. This is not, it's from scratch. This is what you should have already been exposed to already. The big thing is that Civil Air Patrol wants every single member in the Civil Air Patrol to be safety officers. That's basically the bottom line. I'm the safety officer officially, and I am responsible to the commander, okay? And any exercise you go through, you have a safety officer there, a mission safety officer that is responsible to the IC or whoever is in charge. So the whole idea of Civil Air Patrol and safety is that everybody here should be doing the same work as a safety officer. Obviously not in the paperwork side, because that's my job, but basically you are to be out there with your eyes peeled and open and be situationally aware of what's going on around you. And I flew for the Air Force for 30 years, and that was always the number one thing, was safety. And where does safety come into the picture? What's under that? It's situational awareness. Always being aware of what's going on around you. What Civil Air Patrol is that they don't want you to accept any unnecessary risk. Air Force was the same way, and I know all of the military people are. You want to make it, we wanted to fly in the Air Force from point A to point B and make it as boring as possible. And I say that to some people, and they go, "Wow, I want to go in and fly because it's exciting." And I'm saying, "Well, that's true. It is exciting." But you know what? When you come land on point B and you get down safely, you go, "All right, that was a good flight." That's what you want here. You don't want to get down to point B or point A, point 1, and crash land someplace out in the middle of nowhere and go, "This is not a good flight," So you want to make it as boring as you can make it. Make decisions that are appropriate level, okay? And basically, in Civil Air Patrol, if you're on a mission or exercise, or any of those things where you're out on looking for ELTs or anything like that, then, the person who's the IC is the one that's in charge, and he's the one that should make some decisions if you run into situations that have to do with what we're going to talk about in just a few minutes here. And then, of course, you got the safety officer, too. My job should be the easiest job in the world. It really should, because everybody else should be the ones that are doing my job for me. I'm the one that sits there and just looks at it and reports to the incident commander or to the commander in the squadron that, "Sir, everything is working out great," integrate risk management into all mission activities. The Civil Air Patrol basically wants to have all of our events have a risk management. Now, in saying that, they also tell you, you know, if you are doing something repeatedly over again, i.e. flying the airplane, just taking off and doing, you know, a flight or doing an override. Terry does it all the time. Does he have to sit down and fill out the Form 160?
Yeah.
No, no, he doesn't have to do that, but he is supposed to do that at the very least with the people that he is working with. In other words, his crew, he is supposed to brief that, okay? And there is a level to that. We'll kind of touch upon that a little bit. It runs into all situations, even if it's just a ground crew who are going out and just doing a ground search. Or you as an air crew and you land at an airport looking for an ELT, and you get out of the airplane, and then you have to, like Mike has done many times, use the antenna and try to find that ELT that's going off in some hangar someplace. It includes that, because you see, you can get hurt there too. Believe me, it's happened. And they want to do the risk management, of course, continually. And that's where it falls into this thing like Terry. He flies, he does overrides constantly. Okay? In his head, I can tell you right now, that's why I wish he was here, because in a lot of ways, he can kind of back this up. But it's up here. He knows what the risks are. He's been through it over and over and over again. As we will see down a little bit later, it does talk about that. It talks about you don't have to continually write down this stuff if you've already been through it over and over and over again. Because at this point, you should already have it up in here. Risk management, we actually do every single day in our lives. When you approached that red light this morning, you saw, or the green light, and you approached it and it was turning yellow. You took a risk management, you filled it out in your head. It may have been in seconds. As a matter of fact, Civil Air Patrol has it's a PowerPoint presentation on just that. You know, in doing risk management in a matter of seconds. You actually do go through that in your head. You know, when you reach, should I go through this yellow light? Is it worth it? You look in your rearview mirror, see that you got a semi truck right on your bumper. Would it be a good idea if I step on my brakes and try to stop? Or should I go through that yellow light? That's one of the, that's just one of the examples. Okay, as a review, this is the risk management circle. The reason why it's a circle is because Civil Air Patrol wants you to continually think that that's what it is all the time. It's always a circle. It doesn't ever end. It just continues. So, the first thing you do is identify the hazard. You know, and that should be, in some cases, it's obvious. Other times, it's not obvious. And we'll get to that. Number two, assess the risk. Is it really something that is a hazard? Is it something that, can it happen to you? Is it something that's obvious? Assess is it really gonna, is this really a problem? Develop controls. Controls is the prevention. Just as simple as it can be. Do something to alleviate that hazard, and then implement the controls, of course, is doing it. And then supervise and evaluate. That's when you look at it and says, okay, that worked pretty well, so tell everybody else in your group to do the same thing. Does that make sense? Any questions? We are gonna go into this a little deeper. Okay? And you can see down there at the bottom, it says the loop, and that's why they have it. It's a loop, it's a thing that continues all the time. Just like driving your car when you go home tonight, you will be using this, believe it or not, tonight when you drive home. You may not know it, but you will. Okay, there are two types of that circle that you saw. One is deliberate risk management, the other one's real-time risk management. Deliberate means that we are planning on doing something, okay? When Terry does an override, okay, in his element, what he does is he sets up, that's something he's planning on doing. We are going to have a meeting tonight, okay? We plan on having a meeting, okay? So you should be having a risk management circle, with that circle deliberate. The other one, real time means exactly what it says. On here, Civil Air Patrol looks at that as still filling out a form. You still do, it's a form 160S, and that 160S,
That receipt's yours.
it looks exactly like, it's the same kind of form as the form for the deliberate action. They're both look alike, one is smaller than the other. Those are the two, the two. There is a third one, and that's the one where I have taught it here before. It's called 10-second risk management. And that's the one that's the same circle, but it's all done in a matter of about 10 seconds. That's the one that we do most of the time. Tonight, when you drive home, you will be doing the 10-second risk management. Okay. And I just explained all this. That's exactly what that's just telling you what I just told you. Okay, the first thing you want to do is identify the hazard. Okay, in every activity it's different. You know, we come here to the meetings, okay, what type of hazards do we have in here? We got tables that are semi-steady. They could fall. You could fall backwards, you know, pushing your chair out. You could walk down and fall in the toilet. You could do a lot of things that could go wrong in a place like this. You could trip over that red step down there at the door. That's just one of the things that you could do. And in that form, and I'll show you the form real quick. It's pretty straightforward. It's online, and you can also download it. But in that form, you fill out in the 160 those things that you see as being a hazard. There are a lot of sub problems, like here, you know, we've got several things that could go wrong. Mike could lean back in his chair and fall asleep and fall in his floor. Somebody could trip on out the door. Those are sub items. Those are things that are just breakdown of what the hazards are. Each one of those things that could take place, you go under item number 5 up there, which is the hazard. And how many know what the 5 M's are? Okay, so you old timers should know. The 5 M's up here is a member, medium, machine, mission, activity, and management. The member, of course, is you. When you go out to fly, what kind of shape are you in? When you come to this meeting, do you have COVID? Actually, they do present that in there. Do you have COVID? The media is the environment around you. We have tables that we gotta watch out for. You know, there's things in here that could be a hazard. You've got machine, of course, that's, you know, pretty obvious, your car, the airplane. Do we have a truck?
No, not right now.
Okay, yeah.
It got reassigned.
We used to have a truck. We don't now, so we don't have to worry about that. And then the mission and the activity, what is it? If it's a cadet override, you're carrying a bunch of cadets in the airplane up and giving them a ride. Management, of course, what is the policies of management? What is the policies of the Civil Air Patrol in the activity that you're doing? Some of the airplanes that we fly sometimes can be old, even though we are supposed to be doing pre-flights on them and making sure that they're flyable. Obviously, that's part of, believe it or not, risk management. When you do the pre-flight on the airplane, that's what you're doing. Okay, identify hazard, continuing, and then this is the sub-task. There's sub things under a heading of a major task. The airplane going into the air, I mean, that is a risk. You know, it's a risk. What are the sub of underneath that? Well, what could go wrong? The engine could quit. But then, of course, then you got other things. You got the weather. The weather is a sub to the airplane going up in the air. You know, things like that. What ifs? You know, that you could go forever with that one. What are the things that can happen? Have you done it before? Terry flies all the time with the cadets. So he's pretty much an expert on it. He pretty much knows what's happened. Mike has flown many, many times himself, and he pretty kind of has an idea of what things could take place. Bob, he's a novice, he doesn't know much about what's going on. Even so, he
Just take it one day at a time.
Okay. Now, once you identified what the risk is, assess the risk. And of course, that's the one, this is what level is where you find out if it's really something that really is a hazard. Here is the chart, and the risk is measured by probability and severity.
Who else?
Or how
We
bad
don't
it
know.
or what is the
Too bad.
chances of it happening. Okay, actually, the severity is it catastrophic? Is it critical? Is it moderate, negligible? In other words, is it gonna kill somebody? You falling over this table over here, well, that, you think that might, you know, it could, but I would say it was pretty, the chances of it killing somebody, breaking a leg, yeah, that could be high. But, you know, you find whereabouts that would be. Is it a critical or moderate? Minor injuries, illness, loss or damage. I'd say if somebody tripped over the table, he could break a leg, so I'd say that's probably moderate, okay? Then you got the probability of it happening. Well, now you got, well, we have a whole room full of tables in here. So, you know, that can kind of go up into a little bit more of a chance of it happening because we've got people in here. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people in here. If we had 30 people in here, now the chances of somebody doing something like that does go up. That's something that you have to sit down and you gotta figure out what's gonna happen there. But that chart right there, that's where you assess the risk. That's where you get your condition of are you gonna fly or you're not gonna fly. You're not gonna have the meeting, you're not gonna, that is what determines it. If you get into the high risk areas, like up in here, now that takes, believe it or not, that takes the Civil Air Patrol commander to make that decision when you get up in there. Hopefully you never have to get to that point. Everything else that's below that, then Mike can make that decision, the IC can make that decision, whoever is the person who's in charge, and depending on the severity of the thing, it gets elevated higher or lower, depending where it's at. Most of your situations, are pretty much down as, mediocre, or not mediocre, but, the M up there, and then low.
Medium risk.
Medium risk, that's what I was trying to say, yeah. Be honest, that's probably the hardest part. Be honest. I know that every single one of us that go out to an airplane and wanna fly, we want to go and fly. I have seen it in the Air Force, people not being totally honest with that. They just wanted to go. You don't really wanna do that here. Okay, risk controls, of course, that's, what you're doing here is reducing the probability of it happening. If you can get that down from being H to M, or even down to L to low, that's the best thing that you can do. You can eliminate the risk totally. You can reduce the exposure to the hazard. We could pull all these tables out. Of course, we won't be able to do anything, but the other way could be is that Mike could stand up here and just tell everybody, just be careful, because the tables are, the legs are not real far apart, so you could, you could knock the table over. That, something like that.
And don't sit on the end, because that'll flip it right over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to tell everybody about a real world risk, since we're talking about tables and chairs. If you go out that door and then make a right turn and start heading towards the gate, the foot gate, there is a divot that it's kind of concave looking, and it wiped me out about a month ago.
Wow.
And so to prevent that from happening, if you stay about 4 or 5 feet from the hangar, you'll miss the divot.
Huh. Wow. Well, that's, yeah.
On the hangar door side, or is it on the,
As soon as you go around the corner, it's right.
it's a drainage ditch? They've had water issues with this building.
Well,
I think
it's like a giant tire made a pretty even what do you call concave divot.
Yeah.
And I wiped out and I dropped all my gear and I went down on all fours and bruised up and
Holy
it was
smoke.
ugly.
Well, that's, you should have brought that up.
Well, I just did.
Yeah.
He has told me about it. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Because I always go this way, so I didn't even know anything about it.
Just 5 feet away from the hangar, you'll miss it for sure.
Good advice.
Huh. Well, okay, it's, okay, things like that, yeah. That's a hazard I had no idea was there, and nobody's told me about it, so. Okay, that's a warning to people. Prepare your members and improve the design of what it is that needs to be changed. You can't change the airplane a whole lot. People hitting their heads on the strut is not something that you can change, but you can warn people and explain to them, be careful when you go out there. And then, of course, supervisory is somebody who's watching what's going on. So it'd be like if we had somebody standing out there watching, making sure cadets and people aren't gonna fall in that hole out there. That would be some of the ways to do it. Let's see, that's, okay. And then, of course, in the form that you're gonna fill out, which is the CAPF 160, you fill all that out in the forms. They give you plenty of room usually on the big form. On the form where you do it really quick, the short one, there's not as much room in it. But I suppose you could probably get more copies of it. And then you enter the name of the person who's making sure that these hazards have been whatever it is that you chose to eliminate it or to make the hazard less messed up. Prioritize the risk controls. Okay, the risk, of course, the worst to the least. And the risk controls, of course, you wanna take care of the most, one that's gonna be the most risk and so forth and on down the line. Have you ever done it before? Like Terry, he's done it many, many, many times with his cadets. He's also flown the airplane. And also too, just because you fly professionally on the outside does not mean that it makes you an expert flying the airplane we have, okay? One of the things I used to see, we had F-18 pilots from the Marines flying our airplanes out at the Aero Club all the time. And I'm telling you, those guys are probably some of the safest guys I've ever seen in my life. I mean, they never, ever had a big head about the fact that they were F-18 pilots flying for the Marines at all. These guys came out there as humble as they could be, and I had them do a couple of safety meetings also. And really, you know, these guys, they looked at it very realistically. One of them, when he got out of the Marines, became a helicopter pilot on the outside for a rescue unit. And again, he walked into that job with just total, complete, as if he would never have done that stuff before, which he hadn't with the helicopters. You know, flying an F-18 and then going into helicopters is another situation. Okay, now, you got your risk controls in place, okay, what we just went over, okay? Now, what you have to do now is go back and assess the risk again with those controls in place. So, Mike briefed everybody in the room that these tables, you can't sit on the ends, and be careful not to fall over, okay? Now we'll go back and do that chart again and find out, okay, with those in place, now we redo this chart again. And that's what is called residual risk. And that's step 9, which is the last part of doing it. And then you go down and see what the final outcome is. Okay, now, when you do the step number 9, which is after you implemented all those controls, now the highest level is what comes out at the bottom. So if the highest level is an L or low, then the whole mission altogether is at low risk. If you come out with the extremely high or high, now you got a problem. And of course now you have to backtrack and go, is this mission that we're going on really worth it at this point? If it is something that has to be done, now in the military, when I was flying, we didn't have a choice. You know, we're sitting at Baghdad down there with our airplane, and you know, we had to leave the ground. We had to go. But here in Civil Air Patrol, no, you don't have to. But if there's a situation that comes to that point where it needs to be done, for whatever reason, it has to go, it's elevated up to the commander of the Civil Air Patrol. He has to be the one that gives the final stamp of okay of going. That's, you know, something that it's all in red too. They put this all in red about that. And of course, at the end, after you're done with what you've been doing, then you have to evaluate it and find out, did all those controls work? Did everything happen the way they're supposed to? You were talking about you tried to land today with a crosswind. You know, you look back on it and kind of evaluate what it is you did. One of the things that I loved about the Air Force, and probably for any military, is that the fact is how can you take a kid that comes right out of college, you know, at 23, 24 years old, and throw him into the highest powered airplane in the world and survive? And yet you have people in civil aviation come out and they get trained too, and they go out and kill themselves. The one thing I saw about the military is that there's a self-critiquing that the military does. You have simulators, and I super push simulators. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a simulator at home, then you need to get one. Unless you fly all the time. I mean, if you fly every day and you do it, that's your job, is great. But if not, I mean, if you're flying every once in a great while, fly that simulator. Get that thing, and don't just use it as a game. Fly it for real. I mean, use your checklist, everything. Do it as if you're doing the real airplane. So, don't be afraid to knock it off if you're in the middle of something that's going on. You're flying, or you're in exercise, or you're up even as a ground crew. Knock it off if you find that safety is becoming a major factor. It has happened. I used to work for CAL FIRE, and there we really did not have the option to knock it off, but there were several times where we changed our mind and went a different way. And so there's always a way out of something, for the most part, unless you get yourself into a situation where you shouldn't have been there in the first place. What's the old saying about flying? If you have to use your supreme skills to get out of a situation that you got yourself into in the first place that you should never have gotten into, then something's not quite right somewhere. How come you got yourself into that situation? We can quote all kinds of things that can take place, especially in flying. I mean, I look at accident reports all the time, and some of the stuff, it's amazing just what people get themselves into. But there are some situations where people get into where you question, did that individual get into it because he did something stupid, or was it really a circumstance that it got into? Whether 90% of the time, usually the person could have prevented that, for the most part. That's why I always push for people with private pilots to get their instrument rating too, because if they fly themselves into weather, too many accidents from that. Okay, lessons learned. Gather your team, talk about what happened, what worked, what didn't work. Include everybody. Okay. We used to have aircraft commanders that would gather the whole crew together and talk about what could have been better about the crew. That's why I think the military does not have the crashes like they have. They actually sit there and go over what it is that you did wrong or right. I'm not sure if civil aviation instructors are doing that. I know many schools do, and I've seen them, but there are some places I'm not really sure if everybody's doing that. And the other side of it too is the pilots or the trainee, are they really paying attention to that? I don't know. That's something that, it's one of those kind of things where when it comes to safety, in aviation, it takes everybody to be involved in it. And if you're just in it just to go and fly an airplane just for the heck of it, and don't pay attention to what's going on, then you're gonna get in trouble. I wish I had that video I had that would make it more exciting. It was the guy who was he was in a class, and what was that movie? The movie. Now I can't even think of the name of the movie. It's the guy who he talks with a monotone voice. I can't think of it. He was the teacher, and he was talking to a bunch of students about flying airplanes, and he was talking about how you can stall an airplane at any speed. Okay, and he had this monotone voice, and the next scene is this kid about 10 years later out flying his airplane, Cessna 172, with a friend of his and buzzing somebody down on the ground. And the guy was sitting there going, well, you know, watch your airspeed. Ah, we're way up here. We're doing fine, you know, no problem. You know, and then the next picture is him crashing, stalling the airplane out. And it was stalled at any speed. And so, you know, sometimes people take it seriously and absorb it for themselves and others don't. Enough said on that. Okay, we have to do COVID. It's no big thing. It's basically what it is that use the risk management with COVID too. When you meet together, just think about what it is that you're doing, what's going on. Are you raising your risk to get COVID? Here, I know every one of us is at least 6 feet apart from each other here. We're not even close. If we had a room of 20 or 30 people, it may be a different story. Again, you're looking at what is the risk. And in this particular case, you're talking about COVID and spreading. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is that assessment that they were talking about on the cadet O-Ride. And basically it's just talking about what are all the different things it's an exercise of figuring out just what are some of the things that could go wrong. That's why I wish Terry was here tonight, because then he could put his input on it. But I think everybody here kind of gets an idea of what it is that we're, you know, what's going on with this. Any questions about it? Anybody, any inputs? Any situations you've been in that you wish that you had paid attention to or didn't? Okay. All right. Now, I guess I'm supposed to do, and I don't know, is it in here, what I'm supposed to?
No, we can do it next week, or we can do it next month.
Yeah, because I don't have it prepared at all.
Yeah.
And so, I'm supposed to talk about the, what is it?
Non-discrimination.
Discrimination, yeah.
I can probably find it.
And you actually, yeah, it's not very long.
It's only one paragraph. That we
Yeah,
got.
it's.
Let me find it.
We, one of the things that we really do have to watch out for is that, you know, be careful about discrimination and discriminating to, with any, you know, race, color, gender, any of that. And being in the Civil Air Patrol, our purpose here is to save lives and to try to find what's, you know, crashed airplanes, people who are lost, the list goes on. And that's our purpose here. And our focus should be on that.
Well, it's longer than one paragraph.
Well, that's why I was afraid it might be, yeah.
I mean, I think that we've always just read this one,
Yeah.
right here, and then we're done.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. From its inception, the Civil Air Patrol has been dedicated itself to service to its country and to its fellow man. When called upon, it responds quickly, professionally, and with compassion, which basically is what I was just talking about just now. It does not see the color of the skin or those who it helps, or to seek to serve with CAP. It does not ask the background. It does not care from where they come. These things don't matter. And believe it or not, that's true with any organization that does any kind of search or rescue or any kind of what we do. It should have nothing to do with it. Human beings are human beings. People are people. CAP believes that the strength comes from diversity. If you have already taken the lesson on diversity, you know that promoting a corporate culture that is open and accepting of people from diverse backgrounds and circumstances is key to effective leadership and in fact is a manifestation of the Civil Air Patrol's core values of integrity, excellence, volunteer service, and respect. The issue to which non-discrimination is tied, creating a culture of inclusion and appreciation for the skills and the experience of members, can be likened to a coin with diversity and its relationship to leadership being one side. On the other side is the policy side, and its relationship with current federal law and accompanying directives. This lesson will explore the policy side, and then it goes into the non-discrimination policy of the Civil Air Patrol. In 1964, the Congress of the United States passed and the President signed the Civil Rights Act. And this law, which has been amended on a number of occasions, was the first in a series of laws enacted to ensure that employees and beneficiaries of the federally funded programs are treated fairly, that they are not denied opportunities based on their membership in a protected class group. The Civil Rights Act defines a protected class as one based on race, color, or national origin. I just got done doing a bunch of classes I have to do once a year. I'm part of a prison ministry through my church, and every year we have to go through non-discriminatory classes, and it's actually quite fascinating to go through these things from the prison system. And I can tell you right now, one of the things that you do when you walk into these prisons, that you become not only colorblind, but you get blind for what these people are. I mean, I've had some guys who come up and hug me that I would hope never to run into in a back alley. But I'll tell you what, I've seen these guys be somewhat like teddy bears. I mean, nothing like what your mind thinks they might be. And it's, you know, they're there, you know, of course, the prison guards and stuff like that, and including the prisoners themselves, are the state of California prison system will not allow any, there's no tolerance for it at all. So, you know, our business that we are in Civil Air Patrol, as I said earlier, is rescue, saving lives, and doing what it is to get people back into their normal life again after some kind of incident or some kind of tragedy that takes place. And we are to try to stabilize these people's lives by hoping to find a person who's in a plane that crashed up in the mountains. At least hoping that people have survived from it. If not, then, you know, there are organizations that also follow up behind us with that. But we have been awarded many times, and I have read it in the Civil Air Patrol, and I think, you know, Mike, you probably have too, where we have saved people's lives by finding the airplane or finding the individual that was lost up in the mountains. Now, it was unfortunate, I guess, this one that just happened in LA, I guess, that the person did not survive, I guess. And that does happen. But we're there to try to at least get there and hopefully save their lives. Everything else, it means nothing. It doesn't have anything to do. It has nothing to do with who they are. They are human beings, and they were created to be who they are, and our job is at least try to do what we can to save their lives. And there's much, much more on that, and you can read up on a lot of that. Civil Air Patrol, all you gotta do is just go on e-services, and they have places that you can go and look up a lot of this on, not, you know, on discrimination, but not just that, you know, risk management, all that stuff. There are, how many know about the I always forget the name of the courses, Axis,
The learning management system?
huh?
The learning management
Yeah,
system?
yeah,
Yeah, the Axis.
the Axis, yeah, where you can take courses, and really, they really are neat courses to take, they really are. It's a lot of fun, I like taking those kind of things, because you learn things, learn a lot of stuff. And, I just can't believe how many people just blow that stuff off. I don't know, maybe they hated school so bad they didn't wanna do it anymore, I don't know, but I loved school, so I love doing it. So, anyhow, it's 10 minutes to 8. Anybody have any questions, follow up? Wanna come up and?
I don't have any visitors.
Yeah. Make sure that you sign the sheet.
Yeah, I guess I can
in
get
order
credit for the
to
safety meeting.
get credit, yes, because this is the one that really, if you're gonna get credit for any safety meeting, this is the one.
The, does anybody have anything else to talk about? Any old business? New business, anything like that? Lon, do you wanna give a small, discussion on our aircraft stats?
Yep. So they yanked the engine out and it's sitting in a crate waiting for them to pick it up.
Pretty much that's it.
What more can I say?
Yeah, it's waiting on the asphalt over there in front of the forklift. Apparently the trucking company didn't come and get it like they said they would.
We're going through this national mandated review of
Right.
each aircraft
Right.
in AMRAD, is what they call it, to look at, well, we've looked at past discrepancies, and while our plane was gone for the last year, some of the maintenance was not,
That's right. Be careful.
so we're going through the logs and making sure that everything is tucked in and
Right.
all the AMRAD stuff is updated that meets the log books. So we're going through that exercise and turning in reports for each aircraft.
Right.
437 is just about done.
I have a question online. Safety meeting credit for us watching online as well.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as I can sign them in somehow. And the way they do that is they send either Roger an email saying I attended the safety meeting online. Or you can send me an email stating the same thing, that you were online watching the safety meeting. We'll get it to Roger to get you credit for it. Also, I wanted to say, anybody that ever does any of the online stuff should send somebody a email, like you, or myself, or Chris Younger. Make sure you send one of us an email stating that you were online and you were watching the meeting, so I can put you on the roster log and I can sign you in that way. So anybody that's on there, I
If you
think there's
make
4
a
people on there.
comment, does that count?
What's that?
If you make a comment, does that count?
No, not really, because I don't read that.
Okay,
It'd be better to email one of the
Right.
officers here and tell us that you're online, and
very well.
we'll make sure that your name gets on the list, so.
Yeah.
Tonight is a safety meeting, so it's better to get to Roger, or you can send Roger and myself something, so. Anything else coming up? We have a mission, we have a SARX mission coming up, 19/20 of March. If you guys are gonna participate, make sure you're reading your documents and your SQTRs are ready and you're getting prepared for that mission. I am not running the mission, there's other people running the mission. I will be probably one of the people here doing a position. So I don't know a whole lot until they announce all the stuff, probably in a week or so. I think they're also gonna ask for signups for participation in a week or so, not positive of that either. Anything else? Anybody around the room? David?
Nope.
Christopher?
Yep.
Christopher was doing neck control tonight. Thank you very much for that thankless job. So, And then you're going out of town pretty soon?
Yeah, this will be my last meeting for a little bit.
This will be your last meeting for a while.
Wednesday, I'll be,
You'll be drinking out of the fire hose.
yes, next Wednesday. I'll be.
Congratulations.
Thank you, looking forward to it.
And hurry back. 'cause-
Yeah. When I can, I'll definitely.
Bob, you have anything? Okay.
I do online stuff.
If anybody, I'm sorry I missed the group meeting, if there's anybody online that was there or cares, I've been not so well lately, so, I apologize, so, anyway.
So we
Michael?
have a sign up coming up on Soros,
That's why I
right?
said, there should be a sign up for participation coming up. Whether you're gonna participate, trying to do one of these positions, I think that all the flying actually has been allocated already,
Really?
Yeah. They did that,
Well, I
they
did.
did that actually in the last,
I signed up for the last
So-
one, so
well, you
that,
might be included in it.
I hope so.
Yeah. I'll get that roster pretty soon and I'll be able to share it with you.
Is
So.
Roy Knight the one that's doing that one?
Sir?
Isn't Roy Knight doing that?
Roy Knight is participating in that somehow, yes. So, anything else? Well, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting for this week and we'll see you next week. No gavel.